The Committee on Parole is called back to order. The time is 1:23. Our next case is Mr. Wilbert Meredith. Mr. Meredith, would you please introduce yourself and give us your DOC number?
Wilbert Meredith, 120505.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. Let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record. Excuse me, and we will then allow the participants, then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. And then we'll allow those persons who wish to have input to speak. After that, you'll have an opportunity to say anything you'd like to say before the board votes. Do you understand our process?
Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Wilbert J. Meredith, DOC number 120505, date of birth September the 7th of 1965. He's a fourth-class felony offender. He is serving a life sentence. He is not entitled to good time. And he is serving a life sentence for negligent homicide, purse snatching, having been revoked, and armed robbery after having been adjudicated a habitual offender. Mr. Meredith, is that information pretty accurate?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Meredith, your case has been assigned to Ms. Bonnie Jackson. She will begin our interview process. Well, I'm sorry, I missed the participants. We have currently present with you, but not speaking, is Ms. Latasha Meredith and Ms. Precious Meredith. Speaking in opposition is Ms. Catherine Johnson. So we do have at least one speaker today. So would you please answer Ms. Jackson's questions?
Yes, sir.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Meredith. How are you?
All right.
That's good. Mr. Meredith, there's some things I want to talk to you about this afternoon. You're 56 years old, is that correct?
57.
57. And how long have you been incarcerated?
25 years.
Now, one of the charges that you're serving time on happened while you were already incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was the negligent homicide, is that
Ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time did you receive on the negligent homicide?
2 years.
So have you completed that sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're only serving time now on the purse snatching and the armed robbery, or just the armed robbery?
On robbery.
Okay, and that was that's the life sentence where you were treated as an habitual offender, is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I had information that you're a fifth offender, however, perhaps your master prison record said that you're a fourth offender. Tell me, when did you first go to prison for the first time? And for what?
On the first time, or when I first came to Angola,
No, the first time.
of auto theft.
And how old were you?
I was like 18.
And when did you first come to Angola?
I was 22.
And that was for what charge?
The armed robbery.
So tell me, you're starting at 18 up until the time you started serving this life sentence for the armed robbery. What was going on with? Why were you committing so many crimes?
At that time, I was following the wrong people, getting in trouble with the following a crew of people at the time. And
Why did you choose that? Why did you choose to follow that crowd of people?
Well, that's at that age I ain't had nowhere to, nobody to teach me nothing at the time, learn nothing. I raised up without a father. And it took me, I, had friends that I was growing up with, I was into balling, but now that I done grown out, I done been incarcerated for these times.
How far did you go in school before you came?
Sixth grade.
And why did you only go to the 6th grade?
At the time, I was a bad student, a bad person at the time.
And we mean a bad person.
Yeah. Didn't have it in my, didn't feel it going to school. I didn't have it on my mind. I was just getting in trouble at the time.
How old were you when you finally dropped out of school in the 6th grade?
I was like, about 11 at that age, 11.
Who were you living with?
My mother.
She just let you stop going to school at age 11?
No, my mother had to work,
Well, even so,
and she didn't know what I was doing at the time.
you didn't know you weren't bringing home report cards?
Well, at that time, no, ma'am.
Okay. Have you ever had a job? A
Yes,
legit
ma'am.
kind of job did you have when you came to prison?
In the prison,
No.
I was working as a dishwasher at Ralph and Cancun.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the last 25 years. I noticed that you've not been able to get your GED. And that you've taken literacy classes a number of times. Are you currently enrolled in literacy classes?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us, can you read?
A little bit.
And so you struggled with reading, which is why you haven't been able to get your GED.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been enrolled in literacy this time?
3 years.
Have you made any progress?
No, ma'am. It goes up and go back down.
Okay. Also, you've had quite a few write-ups. You've had 90 write-ups since you've been there. That's a pretty high number. Why were you having so many write-ups?
Back then, the write-ups that I was getting, you had to get them, Yeah.
What do you mean you had to get them?
Or you had to fight when I first come here.
Okay, well, you had a write-up in 2016 and one in 2020. Do you remember the one in 2016?
No, ma'am, not that.
Do you remember the one in 2020?
That was a simple fight in 20.
And why were you fighting?
You know how we get two of us start playing with each other, fussing and all, and then led up into a fight, or a simple fight, playing.
Well, tell me what happened. I know you finished the time on the charge, but tell me what happened that led to you getting a negligent homicide.
Well, I hit him. He had a little argument on the card game, and I hit him, and he had a blood clot.
So why did you hit him?
Because if I wouldn't have hit him, he'd hit me.
Well, I mean, how do you know that?
We both swung at the same time.
taken anger management
Yes, ma'am. Twice.
twice?
Yes, ma'am.
The last time you took it?
I took it in 18 and in 20, something like 20.
Well, it looks like it didn't do you much good because you got written up for fighting in 20,
Yeah, that's after the fight.
but not 18.
18.
Said you took it twice, 18 and
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I took it twice.
8 before the fight. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you use what you learned in anger management to just let it go, walk away? Why you didn't use what you had already learned?
Well, I tried to do that, but we know it didn't work.
What do you mean you tried to do it?
I tried to walk away from it, but it
For
was
what?
from the fight, the first beginning, we just and it kept following. And that's when it happened.
Do you have a job at the prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Your job at,
A dome order,
how long have you had that job?
2 years.
Okay. What other kind of jobs have you had?
I had kitchen worker, dishwasher, mattress factory.
Are you a trustee or have you ever been a trustee?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a trustee now?
Oh, ma'am.
Why not?
They took it because I had got an altercation.
The same one we're talking about or a different one?
Yes, ma'am, the same one.
And how long had you been a trustee before you lost that status?
From 09 to 15.
Okay. So if you were to be successful today, Mr. Meredith, tell us what your plan is.
My plan is to get out here to help my mother and my father, help my mother and my sisters, and get me a job and still work.
Stop talking. I mean, I don't know what you mean by helping your mother and father, but again, where are you gonna live? Where are you gonna work? How you gonna pay bills?
I have a brother that's gonna provide me a place to stay until I get on my feet to get on.
Now, where is that?
That's in New Orleans East.
Okay. And what kind of work are you gonna be able to do?
Well, I have a uncle that helped me a job at a standing still in Slidell.
And what?
It's a standing still car washing job. He's gonna provide me give me a job at that.
You pick up any job skills while you were in prison?
Fighting fender.
Okay, where did you learn that or how did you learn that?
I learned that by working in the body fender shop.
Okay, did you take a class for that or you were just working there?
I learned that through the skills. By going over there, I got a certificate in my folder for that.
Okay. What did you get out of thinking for change? I see you took thinking for change. What'd you get out of that? You remember anything they taught you?
I had to think for change, being able to think things over before acting on it.
Give me something specific. Everybody can figure that out. You should think before you act.
Not be so angry at nothing.
When did you take thinking for a change? You remember?
No, ma'am.
What about living in balance? What did you learn in living in balance?
Living I don't recall. I know I took them trades, but I don't remember.
Living in Balance is a substance abuse program.
Oh yeah, substance abuse. I learned a lot of substance abuse, how to control my anger and not do alcohol, drink alcohol or drugs, do drugs.
Tell me remember anything specific, anything in particular you learned that would help you to do those things when you got out?
Stay in church, go trust in God. Just help around, do things for God. Let God give me what he wants me to do.
Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Meredith?
Basically, you went through everything. He did do anger management twice and substance abuse, and he has a low tiger. And you have the report on the fight that he had.
All right. That's all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Schwartzman,
Mr. Meredith, good afternoon.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Why do you have difficulty following instructions?
Well, say that again, sir.
Why do you have trouble following instructions and doing what you're supposed to do?
Well, I always follow instructions. At this,
Then why in 2016 you were assigned to the working cell block 5 times?
no, I only went to the.
Sir, let me read you what I have, and maybe it can be corrected. Right up number 85, and number 10 for fighting. You were assigned to the working cell block. Right up 86, aggravated work offense. You were assigned to the working cell block. Right up 87, aggravated work offense. You were assigned to the working cell block. 88 and 89, the same thing. Aggravated work offense, and you were assigned to the working cell block. The fight, you were found guilty, and you were in 5 days disciplinary segregated quarter. Let me ask my question again.
Right.
Why do you have trouble following instructions and orders?
I was young at that time, sir. At that time, I was young. When at the time that you're talking about the writer, I was young. I came into prison. It was violent. It was rough then.
Sir, I'm talking about 2016, only 7 years ago.
Oh, I don't recall them write-ups though. I don't remember them write-ups there. I don't remember.
Okay. I just want to know because, very rarely do I see an offender assigned to a working cell block for number 28, which is aggravated work offense. But you were assigned to the working cell block 5 times in 2016. And I just want to know why.
In 2016, 5 times, I remember I went to block one time, and I was in that blocks at that time.
Okay, Warren, is my information incorrect?
No, sir, your information is correct, but on 2 of those occasions that he was sentenced to the working cell block, it was suspended for 30 days. So he got 2 30-day suspensions, but then when he got the next 28 on 10/20/16, it was imposed the working cell block. But that's the 88 and 89th report.
Okay, Warren, can you get the classification officer to explain exactly under what act he became parole eligible because he has a life sentence. I don't see any commutation of sentence. And I just like to know exactly under what statute he became eligible for parole.
Under Act 469.
He
Okay.
is, yeah, he's under Act 469, which he was multi-billed. Under Act, his multi-bill was what they used crimes that were not effective to multi-bill. Therefore, 469 made him become parole eligible.
Thank you, madam. I appreciate it. Thank you, madam. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now we'll hear from the opposition, Ms. Catherine Johnson. Johnson, can you hear us?
Hello, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to hear?
Thank you. My name is Catherine Miller Johnson. My brother was Raleigh B. Miller, who was an inmate there, in which we finally find out when we got information about the victim's family, what really happened to him. We never really knew what happened. We never really knew. We never knew anything about Mr. Meredith receiving the sentence of voluntary manslaughter. So we never knew any of this. But my question to Mr. Meredith is,
Ma'am, you need to direct your comments to us. This is not a dialogue. with
okay,
you, Mr. Kennedy. I understand you probably want some information, but we have to follow our procedures, okay?
that's okay. That's fine. This is my first time ever having to do anything of this nature, so that's fine. I guess the main thing to me is, and she just explained about it. First, he was on without parole, and now life, and now he has the possibility of parole. So I don't know how that works or what happened for the change to come about. Did she say something about a certain time in which he was incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am. The legislature apparently, there are several ways that our system works, and the case gets to us. The legislature enacts new laws sometimes that make people who weren't otherwise eligible for parole to be eligible for parole. And apparently the act that the classification officer just cited is the statute under which Mr. Meredith now finds himself eligible for a parole hearing.
So if he is granted parole, how long before he's released, or if he is released?
Well, if he's granted parole today, he could be released relatively soon. Now, he'll be under parole supervision until the end of his term, but he could be granted, if he is granted parole today, he could be released, depending on what his conditions are, he could be released relatively soon.
Okay. Okay. Well, on behalf of my family and what we've had to go through, I won't say that I don't think he doesn't deserve something, but 2 years for manslaughter, so he got 2 years for killing someone.
Apparently, ma'am, the records that you see are basically what we see. We had nothing to do with that. That was the whole court system that ultimately came to us in these records. Apparently, it was a negligent homicide that was, the charge was ultimately negligent homicide, and he got a 2-year sentence. It could have been a murder, it could have been a manslaughter, but it ultimately ended up being a negligent homicide. I don't know that we know really what all the facts were, except that that's the charge that ultimately resulted, and his ultimate sentence was a 2-year sentence.
Right, well, I guess you have access to the records. Like I said, we never could get any information, access or anything, so we just kind of got pushed to the side.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize, and I'm sorry that you didn't get the information you were looking for. We're a separate entity. We're the parole board. And I'm sorry that you didn't get the information, but you are here today to voice your opposition to his being paroled, and we understand that. Accept it.
Okay, I get it. I get it. I guess if I had a little bit more information other than what I've heard, but my niece was trying to get in and she wasn't able to eat my brother's daughter. She wasn't able to get into the Zoom meeting so she could hear or, participate in any of this activity. So.
I'm sorry, that's all the information that I have to give you about the facts of that particular case.
Okay. Well, that I guess almost puts us back where we were, maybe 10% a little bit. Because from listening to this, at least I know a few things.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Catherine?
All right, Miss Catherine, I don't want you to leave this hearing feeling, that you didn't know what you needed to know. I was a judge for 28 years, and basically what negligent homicide means is that you don't intend to cause the harm that resulted. So if you, punch somebody one time and they fall and they hit their head, and as a result of hitting their head, they suffer some trauma that leads to their death, nobody expects that if you hit a person one time, that's going to cause their death or great bodily harm. So it's, negligent homicide is an unintentional act that brings about some unintended consequences. So, negligent homicide means you didn't intend to cause the harm, but you did the act that ultimately caused the harm. But, if you were on top of a person repeatedly beating them and beating them and beating them and they died, then sure, that's a different thing. You hit somebody one time and they fall, they hit their head, or they have some underlying condition that you had no reason to expect that would be the outcome. That would explain why a charge would be a negative. Does that help any?
It does. It clears up the meaning, but it still doesn't satisfy. I still don't have a true, and I would even like to see documents to read the documentation, that kind of thing. I know that's not your area.
Okay. Well, again, I just want you to at least have a little bit more insight.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Meredith, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
You married.
No, sir.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes,
Mr. Meredith, I'm really worried about a lot of things related to your case. I really am. I'm certainly concerned about the anger issues that you have and how even after going through anger management twice, because I show that the last time you did anger management was in 2019, and that last write-up fighting within 2020. So I just feel like you sit in programs, I just don't get the feeling that you're getting a whole lot out of the program. The programs aren't going into you, you're just sitting in the room. Now, it may be because you have some issues with literacy, you may have some learning disabilities, and I understand that. But I am concerned about the number of disciplinary write-ups that you had. I'm concerned about just your overall lack of progress over the last 25 years. I don't know that you've changed a whole lot in 25 years, and I feel like somebody makes you mad, your first impulse is going to be to fight, because that's how you always handle things. And I don't think that you have tools right now that you need to be successful when you get out. So, ma'am, no, ma'am, I would like to see you, get some more programming, but also to take it seriously, to try to get as much out of it as you can, because so far it just seems to me you've been sitting in there because you can get some credit for it, but I don't see that you're really trying to apply what you're learning to become better and to be able to get out in the world and be successful. Now, your day is going to come, but I just don't believe for me that day is today. So my vote today would be to deny based on your disciplinary record and your overall institutional record. I'm going to encourage you not to give up. I'm glad you're still in literacy. Keep working at that. But I just don't think today is the day. I'm just one vote.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Meredith, based on your prior criminal history, express opposition from the victim's family and law enforcement, your disciplinary conduct, and a need for additional programming, my vote is to deny your request.
Mr. Meredith, you have 2 votes to deny your parole. I agree with my colleagues. My vote would be the same. Your parole has been denied today, but with encouragement to work harder in those classes that you take. Good luck to you, sir.